Hi, I'm Robert, and we're back with the last tech bite of our series. This time, we take a more detailed look at our buildings, from challenges and creation to what you can find in our shop. So let's get started. Our goal is to create easy-to-use photoreal 3D content and to help our clients achieve their realistic look independent of the software of choice. We research visual references to find archetypes such as residential, commercial, skyscrapers, and look for common materials for these buildings and assets to achieve this. We'll dive into what makes our buildings so easy to use, then shortly pick into our thought processes when creating these buildings, and wrap up the tech video series at the end of the video. Our buildings are made with a multi-purpose in mind. That means they are compatible in offline, real-time and hybrid pipelines with the same consistent looks and features, such as compatible architecture, detailing, for example fire risers next to the entrances or balconies that have doors leading to them. When buying our buildings and our shop, you will always get a full set of all PBR maps. They also come with an efficient data structure which shares the necessary files across the buildings. Among the typical archetypes you will also find multi-usage type buildings. All buildings can be placed next to each other and will never look out of place. And with our prepared packages you will get the comfortable drag and drop experience, in which there's no need to design and create buildings from modules. They also come with a native file format for your 3D software. Since our buildings are all realistic and architecturally consistent, they work perfectly when placed next to each other. This is a render made in Houdini Redshift, where you can see that the different buildings together with our assets are easy to combine in order to create a realistic scene. Just like in the case of creating the urban layout for our demo, or looking back at our past video, where we explained our inspirations for asset creation, we were looking at visual references, especially from North American cities, for our current product lineup. We consider archetypes for different usage areas in the city and texture our buildings accordingly. Searching for inspiration happens both inside and outside of our studio, or in our spare time. Here are two images that Anka, who you know from our previous videos, took a while ago. I think they prove pretty well what consistency in between different building archetypes means for a city, especially in the commercial and downtown areas. Next, let's take a closer look at one of the building archetypes, the typical skyscraper. We can see in this example the attention for details on the rooftops, which is an important perspective in games. A lot of detailing also goes into the ground levels, as you can easily experience in our game demo. We do make sure that the architecture includes a lot of volumetric variation, from simple shapes to very complex buildings. So just as mentioned before, even though the architecture is different and texture also vary a lot, all of our buildings look consistent and realistic one next to another. Just like in the case of assets, texturing is both about weathering and the daily human interaction with our buildings. The challenge is to procedurally place graffitis and tags in human accessible areas of the facades. Here's another example with one of our buildings. You can see here that we consider human daily interaction by the attention we pay to the details, the greebles, graffitis and the complexity of the top. We looked at the technicalities of LODs 2 weeks ago, but I would like to take a short time to review a bit of this information in the context of our buildings. This is one of our industrial buildings loaded in Unity. As mentioned before, the goal is to have almost no difference between LOD 0 and 1. LOD 3, the imposter, is basically 5 planes shoved into each other to maintain the silhouette of the building. LOD 4 is just a billboard that is typically faced to the camera. Here is another example with one of our multi-residential buildings. LOD 1, 2, 3 and 4. As mentioned in the previous video, our buildings come with a total of 5 LODs. 4 of them are used in real-time applications, and the most detailed one, LOD 0, is mainly used for offline pipelines and comes as a separate product. Here is another example with the highest LOD, rendered in Redshift Houdini. Here, the previous looked at multi-residential building as a turntable also rendered in Houdini Redshift. I'd like to take a moment here to look at some of our buildings in the context of a city. It's easy to spot the amount of geometric variation. Texture differs from skyscrapers to commercial buildings quite a lot, however, it is a gradual change. This image also shows our attention for realism and details when it comes to the top of the buildings, where we consider not only the service area, sometimes additional usage spaces, but also a lot of assets that you can find in real life. And that's a wrap. Thank you for your time. This is the last video of our TechVid series. Let's shortly review the topics of the last 4 videos. We started with the making of our demo, where we explained the concept behind creating it and the main challenges that we had to solve. We then looked into our strategy for creating the urban layout of the demo and dove deeper into the technicalities with our tech teaser video. The last 2 videos covered assets and buildings, more or less outside of the context of the demo. We truly hope you enjoyed our series. We for sure had a lot of fun creating these videos and learned a lot in the process, so stay tuned for more.